Welcome to Next of Kin, the Parents Podcast. I'm your host, Emma. I'm a British expat living in Dubai, UAE, with my partner and baby girl. Join me on my expat motherhood journey. I'll be discussing different topics each week and will be joined by some wonderful guests. Now, if you're a mum, you're probably short on time, so let's jump right in. For our pilot episode, I thought I'd better introduce myself and what you should expect from this podcast going forwards. I want the podcast to be a friendly listen. Parenthood, expat life, it's all such a wild ride, and I don't claim to be an expert by any means. That's what our guest slots can be for. In fact, as a mum, you are bombarded by plenty of social media experts, all with completely conflicting advice. And 6 months into being a mum, I'm overloaded. So, I'm going to say this right now in our pilot episode. If I start to get preachy, you guys can absolutely hold me accountable. Get straight into my DMs and tell me off. This is a safe space for the mums, the dads, the parents to be. It's a no preaching, no judgment zone. Let me start off by telling you that I'm a mum of one little girl who is coming up to 7 months old. I've been meaning to start this podcast for a while, but I just can't find the right time, and I decided I have to start now. I just need to get going because so much has happened in the last 7 months. In fact, so much has happened in the last year and a half since I got pregnant. Each stage has its own challenges, its own dilemmas, and of course its own glorious bits too. It all goes so fast and you suddenly realise you've forgotten what it was like just last month or just last week. My little girl is what I've learnt can be called a Velcro baby. Have you heard of that term? Velcro baby, high needs baby. About 10% of babies are like this apparently. So I very quickly learnt that my dreams of having a cute little bundle in a docker tot next to me, in a bassinet and a bouncer. Let's just insert any parenting item here which is designed to put your baby down. It wasn't going to happen. I imagined that I'd have her there in the docker tot next to me whilst I enjoy a meal, do whatever needs to be done, maybe even just some boring housework. But in reality, all that equipment was swiftly sold, and I learnt that I just basically need to eat a whole roast dinner with one hand. At 3 months old, she decided that a next to me crib wasn't close enough for her, and she'd be moving into our bed. So you may be thinking, well, that's not relatable. I am a sleep training kind of mama. Let me just say, I hear you, I get you. I also would like to be a sleep training kind of mama. But my baby chose the co-sleeping life. I keep saying to people, which end of the scale are you? Co-sleeping or sleep training? Because I thought I was sleep training, but my baby has chosen co-sleeping for me. Now more on the expat side of my journey. I moved over to Dubai having never been here before. In fact, I wasn't even interested in going here on holiday. In February 2021, right in the middle of COVID, I was just so done with London lockdown life. So I said goodbye to my boyfriend on Valentine's Day. I hopped on a plane to Dubai and then Dubai went onto the red list literally the next day. Do people remember red lists? Let's just move on from this COVID chat straight away. Anyway, I didn't get to see him for the next 6 months, but he soon moved out by the end of the year. We started to find a group of friends, make the most of the party brunch scene. Maybe we enjoyed it a bit too much, you could say, because within 2, maybe 3 months, I was pregnant. Those party days were solidly behind us. And I am an awful pregnant person. So let's just write off the rest of 2022 until our daughter was born in October at King's College Hospital. So lots of information for you there about me. If there's anything I have mentioned that you would like as a topic for a podcast, do let me know. Velcro babies, high needs babies, having a baby in Dubai, the care here, pregnancy. I am an open book. Ask away. Okay, enough about me. Let's talk about Next of Kin and this podcast. I know that there's loads of really great informative podcasts out there about pregnancy, about parenting, motherhood, But what I've really started to enjoy listening to are the chatty podcasts about people's lives. So maybe I'm just nosy, but I know there's lots more of you out there. So each week I'm going to give you a snapshot into my life. I'm at a really transformative point in my life. I used to be a luxury fashion buyer, and actually I only gave that up weeks ago. It just wasn't compatible with mum life. There were so many other reasons that I can get into at a later date if you're really that interested. I don't know whether it's motherhood, becoming a new mum, whether it's Dubai, whether it's the pandemic, but for some reason I've just got this newfound sense of confidence whereby I have just completely quit my job and decided to set up a company. So I've set up my very first business, which of course is Next of Kin. I want Next of Kin to have various strings to its bow. Firstly, this podcast. And of course, with my background, it's no surprise that I want to start a brand. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Another string to the bow will be the social media. So our Instagram account, go over to @nextofkin.ae if you're interested in that side of things. But I'd really love to build a community of like-minded parents over there. If you're interested in this side of my life and the business side, for sure, let me know, because I'm more than happy to open up, but I just assumed it's probably not that interesting. You might also be wondering about the name, Next of Kin. Some people have loved it and some people have really hated it. So honestly, I kind of like that. I like that people are at least remembering it, right? But it actually came about as a slip of the tongue from my partner. And I can't remember what he was saying Next of Kin for. But after he said it, he said, "Oh, Next of Kin, that would be a good brand name." And I obviously agreed. So here we are, Next of Kin. Let me know what you think. Are you on the love it or hate it side, or you just really don't care? So, of course, I'll be sharing my life trials and tribulations with you. I want to be a supportive friend in the background, like a voice note you've put on whilst you're doing your chores or whatever it is you might be doing, starting a business. So I'll be discussing my life, but I'll also have guests on the show as guest co-hosts as opposed to interviewees, because I'm no interviewer. Of course, I can put your questions to them as well, though, but I really want to hear stories. I want to hear about people's lives, their journeys into parenting and the stage in parenting that they're at now. Maybe we can learn something from them, or maybe we can all just have a big laugh at the craziness of parenting. Let me tell you about my last week. So it's been a pretty good one. I had my birthday last week, so we went away on a staycay to the Okay, we stayed at the Intercontinental in Ras Al Khaimah. If anyone's been there, you'll know it is beautiful. The restaurants are stunning. The food's great. The rooms are great. I think it's my favourite hotel in Ras Al Khaimah, to be honest. We've stayed in the Waldorf and the Movenpick as well. Both beautiful hotels, stunning. But there was something about the Intercontinental I just loved. So if you're looking for a staycay that's close to home, easy with kids as well, then definitely check it out. We were really impressed. Anyway, that was my birthday. Other good news I had this week is that my best friend is pregnant. In fact, I've got a few best friends, but another one has just had a baby. But it was great to hear about the pregnancy of my other friend, and it really got me thinking. And I've come up with 3 rules for speaking to pregnant people. So let me share these with you, and I want to know if you agree or you have any other rules. And did you put these rules in place when you were pregnant? I'm hoping we'll have lots of pregnant listeners, because I loved a podcast when I was pregnant. So rule number 1, baby names. Maybe we should just stop asking. But if you do ask, and I do actually give you an answer that isn't just brushing it off, then you need to tell me you love it. There is no other appropriate response other than, "Oh my God, I love it. That's so cute." I don't want to hear about some boy who was a bully in your school, or, "Oh, I worked with someone, she was a right this, a right that." I don't want to hear it. So name-wise, either don't ask, but if you can't act like you love it, maybe you shouldn't ask. So either don't ask or just pretend you absolutely love it. Number 2 will be telling me to sleep now, because you won't get to sleep when the baby comes. It's the most annoying thing, especially because I had awful pregnancy insomnia. My other friend had awful pregnancy insomnia. It's definitely a thing. And this pregnancy tiredness is so different to having a baby tiredness. Of course, like, no one's under the impression that you get loads of sleep when you have a baby. Like, we don't need to be told about it over and over again. So rule number 3 is the birth stories. Why is it as soon as you tell someone you're pregnant, they say, oh, my friend just had a baby. Yeah, she was cut from head to toe and she nearly died and everyone nearly died and there was blood everywhere and everything was awful. Because that's kind of not what I want to hear when I've told you that I am pregnant. People seem to forget that means I will also be giving birth. So why would we scare people? We do a lot of this to mums, actually, scaring them maybe about not sleeping, scaring them about birth, telling them all these awful stories. So let's just not. And also for any pregnant people who are listening, my birth was great. You know, like, I'm not going to say it was fun. Definitely wasn't fun, but it was empowering and it was fantastic and I'd do it again. So yeah, no scare story here, all just simple, plain, easy sailing. Ish. So let's not say that to pregnant women, please. Let's make that rule number 3. No telling pregnant people about horrible, horrific births. Next up in the podcast, you can expect a mum-llema. Yep, I'm just playing on the word dilemma there with mum. I'm sorry, but it's going to be mum-llemas. Each week I'll throw out a mum-llema, probably something that I'm dealing with that week, but I can also pose these questions to any guest speakers that we have. I can also ask any of our experts some mum-llemas, and I'm more than happy to have your mum-llemas on the podcast. I want to get a discussion started, so head over to Instagram and I'll post whatever the mum-llema from the podcast has been so that we can start chatting in the comments. Let's exchange tips. Of course, no preaching, guys, no preaching, but let's exchange some little tips and support each other with whatever our mum-llema might be. This week, my mum-llema is that my baby will not take a bottle. So I should in fact let you know that I have actually just left my job because they wanted me to start traveling. I just wasn't comfortable with it. My baby wasn't going to take a bottle. How would that work? So for a while, the baby popped in every 2 hours when I was in the office, and it wasn't happening, guys. It really wasn't. I think we could have a whole separate podcast on how little time you get as maternity leave in the UAE. I managed to extend mine to nearly 5 months postpartum, and she was still breastfeeding, and there was no getting her onto the bottle. That said, I thought I had it all sussed. I started her with a bottle of express milk from 4 days old. She took it absolutely fine. Nipple confusion, not a thing for me. I'd often use the bottle to distract her with on car journeys. Then we get to 8 weeks old. I was ill. My milk supply dropped drastically, so I really wanted her to take a bottle. She hadn't had one in a while, but I thought I was fine. She's a baby who takes a bottle, but bam, she refused. And that's how it's been ever since. So mums, tell me, give me all your tips over on Instagram. Some that I've heard are to warm the teat, leave the house and get someone else to do it, get your hubby to do it whilst skin to skin. But let me know your success stories. Also, tell me straight, if you had a baby who just didn't take a bottle, how was that? How did you deal with it? How did you end your breastfeeding journey? Now that I've thrown a problem out to the community, I also want to give back to you guys, and I'm going to do that with a recommendation each week. Doesn't have to be a product. It can be a little tip, a hack, whatever. Do DM me with any of your suggestions, what you found super useful this week. But this week, I'm going to recommend to you the Get Sorted app. We all know that to get a decent picture of a baby or child, you will need to take approximately 200 photos. Is your iPhone storage always full? Because mine is, and I even upgraded to a larger memory iPhone before having the baby. So I knew that this was going to be a problem, and yet my storage is always full. This part of the podcast is always going to be unsponsored unless I say otherwise, but I don't see us having any sponsorship right now. So I'm not telling you this because I'm sponsored by Get Sorted. It's a completely free app. I actually heard about it through Lily Pebbles years ago, and it is super useful as a mum. So this app you can just download from the App Store, and it gives you a daily target to go through 50 images in your camera roll. You literally just swipe them like you're on Tinder. So a yes or a no, quickly whiz through. And then when you get to the end, you delete all of those you've said no to. So you can go through all those repetitive or unnecessary shots, delete them all. Absolutely genius. Thanks so much for joining today for this pilot episode of Next of Kin, the Parents Podcast. I hope you've got a little taster of what's to come and you are excited to subscribe, to follow along on your preferred podcast platform. We are so happy to have you. If you did enjoy this podcast and you want to support, then please subscribe, please rate, review, and also share with friends. It would be great to get some listeners out there in the lead up to the launch. Please also join us over on the community on Instagram. We're at nextofkin.ae. DM me with all your questions, all your suggestions. I want to hear your mum-lemmas, your recommendations. Can't wait to hear from you and see you next time.